My husband is singing in the next room. That scared me. I thought it was like something else. Excuse me. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to anybody who's new here. My name is Rayleigh Bradshaw and I am a writer of YA historical fiction, currently working on my debut novel, Untamable. Here on my channel you can find anything writerly related, especially writing vlogs, which is typically what I do, and I also am adding a Healthy Writer series on my channel to discuss various tips and tricks on how to improve your health as a writer. Today I'm really excited to bring you guys a tag video. This is an original tag created in collaboration with Timi. If any of you watching my channel don't know who Timi is, I will be very surprised because she is extremely active on this AuthorTube community, both here on YouTube as well as on Twitter and other major platforms. She is probably one of the sweetest human beings I have ever met in my entire life. She's extremely supportive and kind and just really, really good-natured, and I feel really honored that she wanted to collab with me to create this original tag. And this is also the first original tag that I've ever created, so I'm really excited about this. And we are calling this the Grateful Writer tag. We were both talking actually several months ago. This was back in December now, I believe, November or December. We were both talking about how important gratitude is to us in our personal lives as well as in our writing lives, and how we'd like to foster more gratitude. And so we were like, hey, why don't we just create a Grateful Writer tag? And to be honest, there are other tags that have been going around lately with the coming on of the new year that have very similar questions to this. And so even though I am going to be tagging people in this tag, do not feel any pressure to do this if you have already done one similar to it this time of year in January, or with the coming on of the new year. But without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into this Grateful Writer tag. Okay, so the first question is, and I've got it written down on a piece of paper here, so I'm just going to be looking down to remember what the questions are. The first question is, what is one inner change that you are most grateful you experienced in the recent months? So this could be anywhere from the last couple of weeks to the last couple of years. An inner change. And this one's kind of hard for me, but I would have to say an interchange that I'm the most grateful for is last year I started waking up at 5 o'clock a.m. to join the 5 a.m. Writers Club, and I had no idea how much that was going to change my life, change myself as a person, and change how much I could accomplish in a day. So that's an interchange that I saw in myself, which is kind of hard to put words to because it seems more like an outer change that I started waking up earlier, but it really changed me on the inside because I feel like I just developed greater self-control by going to bed earlier in the evenings and waking up earlier in the mornings. I feel like I've become a more positive person as well as a more driven person as a result of making this one change of just getting up earlier to work on my writing. Question number 2. What is one bad experience or negative experience that you are grateful for teaching you something? And I'm sure there are so many things, but it's really hard to say because even though a lot of the time an experience feels like a negative one when you're going through it, afterwards, once I recognize what I've learned from it and how it's helped to shape me into the person I am now, I no longer think of it as a bad experience or a negative experience because it's something that really helped me to grow. So that's why I'm having a hard time coming up with a bad experience that I'm grateful for. The biggest thing that comes to my mind right now, I don't know how good of an answer this is for this question, but anyone who's been watching me since last summer, you may recall that I was helping my grandfather work on his autobiography of his life. He asked me several years ago to help him with this because he knew that I like to write. And when somebody asks you to help you write a book about their life and they are currently in what you deem to be perfect health, it's hard to feel like, oh, we've got to get this done now. I thought my grandpa was in really good health and I had my own book that I was working on, and so we were just kind of slowly every few months exchanging letters back and forth, or he would send me little pieces that he'd written, and then I would just kind of look over it and write down questions that I had for him to kind of draw more story from him. But I didn't really fully dive into it until last summer after my grandpa was diagnosed with cancer. That kind of lit a fire under me to get more of his book done, and I started taking more trips to Idaho Falls. It's about a 3 to 4 hour drive to go and see him, and my husband and I were going there every few weeks to help out on my grandparents' farm, and also so that I could interview my grandpa for his book. And even that, it didn't feel like a bad experience or a negative experience, but it was kind of a hard experience watching my grandpa decline and trying to get as much from him as I possibly could with the short time that we had left. And 2 weeks ago, my grandpa actually passed away. And I don't feel like I wish that I had taken more advantage of the time that I had with him to ask him more questions. I feel very fortunate that I was able to finish my round of interviews with him and get everything all written down, and I was in the process of editing and revising and trying to make it a little bit more polished. From Thanksgiving until about 2 weeks ago, I was trying really, really hard to get his book printed as a book so that he could hold it in his hands before he passed away. And I was not able to do that. A lot of it was just out of my hands. I was waiting to hear back from some other people. I was waiting for some more resources. And it was a stressful and an emotional time for me. And it's still very fresh. But even now, I can't call that a bad experience or even a negative experience. Even though it was a hard experience, I'm really, really grateful for what it taught me about writing memoirs and recording the memoirs of somebody else. I feel like I'm still learning this. His book is not done yet, and I still plan on finishing it and making it the best possible for him. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity, despite how difficult it was and is for me. I'm grateful for what I'm learning, both as a writer and as a person, as a human being, and as a granddaughter. So there's that one. Question number 3 is 3 people who you are grateful for supporting you as a writer. And I could name a lot of people within this community who I'm really grateful for, which is pretty much all of you, honestly. Any person who has ever watched any of my videos, especially if you've ever commented or liked a video. Seriously, you guys mean so much to me, and I'm really grateful for all of you. But as to naming specific people, I have chosen 3 people from my personal life who I want to thank. The first one would have to be my husband, because he puts up with a lot, and he is so supportive of me and my writing journey. He has purchased a lot of the equipment that I use to film. I'm really grateful that he lets me have the time that I need for writing every day, and that he supports me and really pushes me. And if he notices that it's been a few days since I worked on my book, he'll be like, "Hey, what's going on there? Shouldn't you be working on your book right now?" And that means a lot to me, even though sometimes I'm like, "Oh, leave me alone. I deserve a break." So my husband would have to be number 1. Number 2 is another friend of mine whose name is Paige. We have been friends since high school, or really middle school actually. We've been friends since middle school, and we kind of bonded over the fact that she also enjoys writing, and she writes fantasy, and I have been a beta reader for her. She will be a beta reader for me. And over the years, even though we've grown up and kind of moved off in our own directions, she's living in Texas with her husband and new baby. I'm living in Utah with my new husband, and we don't get to see each other that often, but she has been so good about constantly reaching out to me as often as she can. It's usually only a couple of times a year, but she'll really reach out to me. She'll call me, she'll text me, and she'll just be like, "Hey, how's your book coming along?" And she remembers everything about my book that I've ever told her somehow, and she'll be like, "Oh yeah, so what about Mercedes?" It's my husband. She'll be like, "Oh yeah, so what about Mercedes, and what about this character, and what about that character? What part of the book are you working on now?" And she always remembers, and that means so much to me. And then on top of that, a couple of years ago, she actually reached out to me, and she's like, "Okay, so what's stalling you right now? Why aren't you working on your book?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just having a really hard time with the world building. I wish I could actually physically go there to Fort Stockton, Texas." And she was like, girl, I live about a 4-hour drive away from Fort Stockton. Come visit me and we'll take a writing retreat and just go there and you can write down all the notes that you need. And that was amazing. And so I saved up some money and I actually went and spent the weekend with her, and we just took a road trip, just the two of us, and we went to Fort Stockton, and she just let me, I mean, she was working on her book a little bit as well, but for the most part, she was like, this trip is all about you and your book. And I think she's been an amazing support for me, so I'm really grateful for her. The third person that I have to thank would be my pen pal of almost 15 years. It's been 15 years. My pen pal of a really long time. His name is Renee. We actually met because we were both writing and posting our stories to fictionpress.com, and we really liked reading each other's stories, and then we ended up emailing each other, and our emails just turned into this, what I hope to be lifelong friendship. And she has always been a really meaningful part of my writing journey and also just of my life journey. I don't know where I would be without her and her support. I am just really, really grateful to have a friend who, seriously, our only means of communication with each other has been through writing. So we are literally pen pals. Man, I need to go through these faster. I am taking too long on every question. Okay, so the fourth question is, what is an object that you wanted for a really long time and that you're grateful to finally have received? So for me, this is something that I've been wanting for a really long time, but I never could bring myself to spend money on it because I was like, oh, I don't know how to use it. And so my husband surprised me and got it for me for Christmas. My very own violin. Oh my gosh, I love it! I'm so excited he got me a violin because I've always wanted to learn how to play the violin. My oldest sister plays the violin, and ever since I was a little girl, I loved pulling out her violin and like just touching it and trying to learn how to play it and learning how to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on it. And my husband, as most of you should probably know by now, my husband is musical. I use his music on my channel, and so I know he's been wanting me to learn an instrument so that we can play music together. So I'm really excited to learn how to play this. I've done one little at-home lesson so far. I need to make more time for this. If you've watched my day in the life, you know that my days are pretty full, so it's hard to squeeze time in for practicing music. So if anybody has any tips for me, if any of you play a musical instrument and write and have a full-time job and have a spouse, comment below. When do you find time to practice your music? I would really love to hear it because I can't wait to learn how to play this. And actually, my main character plays the violin in my debut novel that I'm currently working on, and so it's been really helpful to actually have a violin on hand so that I can practice holding it and learn various things about it that kind of help me write more realistically somebody playing the violin. Question number 5, one achievement that makes you really grateful and proud of yourself. I am so grateful and proud of myself that I finished my first draft of Untamable last NaNoWriMo. And this is actually not the first draft of Untamable, it's technically the second draft. I did a complete rewrite from the first draft that I wrote back in high school when I was like 15. So it's really completely different than how it used to be. I'm really proud of myself that I finished that draft, and I'm proud of myself that I'm working on revisions now. That's it. Okay, and then question number 6 is, what is one inner change you would like to see in yourself a year from now? Where do I even begin? There's so many. A really big one for me that I've been thinking about a lot is that I really notice in other people when they take genuine interest in others and when they just like come up with really good questions to ask during conversation. And I realize they are so good at conversing because they are genuinely interested. They genuinely want to know more about other people. And I feel like that was a gift I used to have when I was a lot younger. And as I've grown older, my interests have kind of turned inward a lot more. And in some ways it's been good for me because I've learned how to stand up for myself and not let people walk all over me the way I used to let happen. But in other ways, I don't like that change I've seen in myself, that I have a harder time relating to people than I used to. So one inner change I'd like to see in myself over the next year, hopefully, is that I turn my attention outward a little bit more and really try to understand other people and get to know them and really take genuine interest in their lives. I feel like not only would this make me a better person, but also I feel like it would make me a better writer, because writers who notice a lot in other people and really take time to question other people about themselves and talk to them, they get to know people better and human nature, and they're just better at writing characters, I feel like. So that's an interchange that I really like to see in myself in the next year. And then question number 7 is, what is one change that you would like to see in your writing in the next year? I'd really like to make my writing more clear and concise. I am definitely an overwriter. You guys know this if you've been watching my revisions vlogging. I write a lot and I tend to be very wordy. I also tend to repeat myself a lot. You will know this just by watching my videos, to be honest, because I have a hard time knowing when I've already said something, and I always think I need to say it better than I said it the first time. So I'll say the same thing in like 10 different ways. And then even when I'm editing, I'll cut out a lot of my repetition. But even in editing, I don't realize that I've left a lot of my repetition in until I go back and watch the videos later, and I'm like, I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. Just like, get to the chase, get to the point, say it once and let it be. So my writing is like that as well, where it's very meandering and like very repetitive, and I say the same things in different ways over and over again, where I just want to be able to say it once and I want to say it well and be done. And so that is something I would really like to change in my writing and in my speech pattern as well. Question number 8 is, what is one book you read in the last year that really inspired or motivated you? So this was hard to pin down one book at first because I read a ton of books last year. I was like 4 books short of 100, I think, but that's because I listened to a lot of audiobooks while I'm at work. So I was trying to remember all the books that I read last year, and there were several that had a big impact on me, but the one I felt that inspired and motivated me the most might come as a surprise to you guys. It was called The Magnolia Story, and it is a book that was written by Chip and Joanna Gaines. If you're not familiar with Chip and Joanna Gaines, they had a TV show on TLC for a long time that was, they would buy crummy little houses and then they would flip them and make them really nice and sell them. One of my sisters and her husband really like watching their TV show, and even though I had never actually watched the TV show myself, I had like seen pieces here and there in passing, but I didn't know a lot about this couple, Chip and Joanna, and the book just happened to be available on audiobook on my library app, and I was looking for a book to read, so I was like, oh sure. And sometimes I'll just read books even though I'm like, I have no idea what this is. Sure, why not, because it's free, you know. And so I listened to it and I loved it. It was actually read by Chip and Joanna, and they're just such a great couple. It was really fun to listen to them, and I felt really motivated and inspired because they are a couple who is just super driven to make their dreams happen. And they had so many setbacks. They tell the story of when they first met, the things that they were both passionate about, and how the things they were passionate about just ended up melding to really complement one another, and how their marriage just became all about building each other. Sorry guys, my camera just died, so if the angle is different, that's why. But anyways, like I was saying, it's really hard to put into words why I found Chip and Joanna Gaines' story so inspiring and motivating. But really, it's just, I loved reading about, they had some hilarious stories, building their own business and then watching it collapse and then building it again and buying and flipping all these homes. They're such driven people, and I love hearing about driven people talk about things that they're passionate about. It just really makes me feel inspired and motivated. So I could not possibly do the book justice by telling you guys about it, but I would highly recommend it. If you can find it in your local library or on Amazon or whatever the case may be, it is a book that I think I'd like to own, because I really liked the way it made me feel reading it, and it was really enjoyable. So highly recommend that one, and highly recommend the audio version of it. I think that's just a good thing to listen to while you're cleaning the house. It'll make you feel like driven to, yeah, make things happen, make my dreams become reality. Okay, question number 9 is, what is one way you would like to show yourself more love and acceptance? I tend to be kind of hard on myself if I make a goal and then I don't achieve it. I had this timeline in my mind of when I wanted things done with my book, and I've really fallen short there. And it's easy to be hard on myself and to think, oh, I'm a failure, I am not a good writer, or I'm not working hard enough. And I think I would like to show myself a little bit more mercy just by accepting that, hey, I'm human, I have other things going on in my life, and that is okay. It's okay to fall short. It's okay to not reach every goal every time. It's okay to take a step back when I need to. And a lot of it is I'm letting other people down. I'm afraid I'm letting other people down because I already talked to an editor that I wanted to have my book ready to send my editor, and I have an interior formatter who I wanted to have things ready for them by a certain time, and it's looking like that is not going to work. And so I'd like to show myself a little bit more self-love and acceptance by just allowing myself to be okay with that, and allowing myself to, it's okay to email my editor and my interior formatter and say, hey, can we reschedule? Because that happens. Whether you are self-publishing or you're going the traditional publishing route, setbacks happen, and it's totally normal, and that's okay. And it doesn't make me a bad writer. It doesn't make me lazy. It doesn't make me a failure. And it's okay. So I'd like to show myself some love and some mercy and some kindness by just saying, hey, you know what? That's okay. Yeah. Then the last question, number 10, is what is one way that you would like to show others more love and acceptance? And this kind of goes along with the interchange that I want to see in myself, and that I want to genuinely care and be interested in other people and what they're going through, and especially all of my viewers, all of you guys who are watching my channel. I really genuinely want to know how you guys are doing in your writing journey. What are the things that you struggle with? I'm sure I can relate. What are the things that you are proud of, that you've been doing well, or that you've really improved? Let me know those too, because I will cheer you on. And a way that I'd really like to show that more is within the writing community. I would like to be better about reaching out and finding other channels more than I currently do. I feel like over the holidays I got overwhelmed with trying to keep up with everybody's channels and trying to keep up with my own writing, and everything that was going on in my life was crazy. But now I feel like things have kind of calmed down, and I'm at a place where I would really like to reach out and find more author tubers. So if you have a channel and I'm not aware of it, please let me know down below. I'd love to go and watch your channel and support you, show you some love and some acceptance, I guess, show you guys some love and some support. And I would like to just leave more thoughtful comments. There are so many of you who write the most thoughtful, amazing comments on my videos, and they mean so much to me. So I would like to return the favor and just pay it forward and write better comments on people's videos. And yeah, so that concludes this portion of this video of me answering all my 10 questions, and now I get to tag some of you. And again, like I said at the beginning of the video, I know that there are similar tags to this one that have been going around, and so if you have already done a tag that's similar to this, no pressure to do this at all, but I would still like to tag you. So I'm going to tag a couple of people. First of all, I would really like to tag Christy Schuler, Dawn Kozak, Rebecca Rodriguez. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and if you haven't already, please go ahead and watch Timi's video. I'm going to be linking her channel down below. She is awesome. Yeah, so go ahead and show her some love, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Would you come and take a walk with me? We'll cross over the mountains, we'll reach the pale blue sea. I love